Testing, testing, testing. Testing, testing, testing. What is going on, everybody? Welcome to this fantastic Monday. First, you know how we do it here. Must give a shout out to the Most High and the man upstairs for making this all possible. If you're new here with us, my name is Designer Malcolm, and I am a designer, creative individual, and I want to welcome you to this studio session series. This is, I believe, day 5, and personally, I've had a lot of fun doing this. And just so you know what we're about here in this specific session, we are vibe coding. We are creating some software. This past year, 2026, has been a journey for me creating software using artificial intelligence. And if you've been living under a rock, then this may be of use to you, what we're doing here, because as we all are aware, artificial intelligence is changing the way we do everything, right? From business to creativity to music to design. And in my opinion, one of the best things it's changing is how we develop and build software, as developing and building software has been a cornerstone to my career. Now, personally, I haven't been a developer. I've always been a what we call product designer, user interface designer, right? And what does that mean? Well, I typically am involved with doing things that are customer-centric and improving the interface of a web product or tool. So that is my background. I am a trained fashion designer, so that's where my heart lies. But I do believe design is ubiquitous, and I do believe the fundamentals of design are consistent across all disciplines. And as you'll see throughout this series, the process is pretty much the same. The only thing that changes is the medium. And in this particular series, our medium is code and software. And so I like to say thank you for joining us. Kind of a long explanation, but that's for those who are new here. If you do like the content and if you do want to show some support, I ask you to subscribe, like, engage, leave a comment, because all of that engagement really helps this channel out. We're a new channel here, doing this series. And, I have to pay homage to the OG who kind of inspired me to do this. If you're not familiar with him, his name is Matthew, I believe, over at Bridge Mind. And young dude, goes to Purdue, really, really, really passionate about what he's building. And I think he's on about like day 95, built a really slick tool. So go show him some support, because I think, copying is a form of flattery. And honestly, if you find something that I do on this side of the internet inspiring, by all means, take it and run with it and add your own flavor to it. So give a shout out to Bridgemind. Go follow his content. If you want some more vibe coding, AI software, building live streams, his stuff is good, full of energy. He's building some cool stuff over there. And so, yeah, I just want to give a shout out to him for really prompting me to do this. Now, I'm not a content creator by any means. This is just a vessel for me to share with you guys what I'm doing. And if you enjoy the content, please, by all means, support it. Also, like I said, we are fashion over here as well. And I just dropped the winter collection. Go cop that at designermalcolm.com. It helps support the channel. It's got some great gear over there. Some crop tops, some hoodies, some mugs. We do have another series on this channel called Design Language, where I kind of dive into some of the fashion icons of our generation and of this century. So if you like that type of stuff, we have that for you as well. So without further ado, let's kind of back up and highlight where we left off. I do want to mention, I did, typically this series will be a Monday through Friday thing. I kind of want to speak on something here where typically there's this hustle culture about going hard 24/7, and there's no knock to that, right? I do believe if you can go hard, go to your capacity, right? But there is some benefit to balancing and resting. Now, that's not by all saying that I take hours off. I do put in probably 100-hour weeks, but I do believe if you are on this journey of entrepreneurship, it's about the long game and how long can you sustain and be consistent with your efforts. So if you need to take the weekend off, take the weekend off. I think that's what will be natural for this series. We'll go hard Monday through Friday, and then Saturday, Sunday, you won't hear from me. And then we'll pick it back up on Monday. That's just my speed. I have a lot of things that I'm working on and doing, and so I need balance. And so just to kind of set the expectation here, I may or may not pop in here on the weekends to drop some value or whatnot. But that's kind of what we do here. Also, I want to highlight that we will be launching the Designer Malcolm community. This will be a community, and this community will be super, super, super helpful for you guys who are wanting to learn more about software building and following along. But hold on, before I continue, I need to step away for a quick moment. So bear with Hello, and I'm back. All right. Had to had to handle something there. Okay, so if you're joining us today, we are where I pick up pick back up where I left off at. We will be talking about some design stuff and as well as building a software tool from A to Z. Um, and so let's pick up where we left off at. All right, so this series is going to be following along as we build this tool called Builder. That's what we're calling it for now. And essentially, what Builder is, it is I would say, a design assistant tool, right? A product development assistant tool, a little different from those that we see out there today. And from the last time we were working on this, we were working on our user flows. So let's pick up back where we left off and we'll hop right into this and get going. So let's see. All right. So back when we were doing this or working on this on Friday, we were fleshing out I believe this was our sign in user flow. Let me get it right here. And it always is helpful to add in some context as we work on this stuff. So this is our sign in user flow. So we'll just label that. So before I get deep into this, I will need to take a pause here for a minute. And I need to take care of something. So just give me 1 second. All right. So sorry about that. I will be right back. So I need to step away from the stream. All right, my apologies there. I had to step away to take care of some business. Um, Thank you again. I will put a timestamp in the description so you can skip straight to that. I had to handle something. All right, so if you're new here, this is the Designer Malcolm channel. I just want to welcome you back again. Today we will be diving back into our user flows that we started working on last week on Friday for this application here. What we are building here is a framework or a scaffolding tool. I think I'll call it that. I think that just sounds more appropriate. But we are building a scaffolding tool for designers to build applications. Now, what inspired us to kind of go down this, or inspired me to go down this direction, was as a designer myself, new to the AI applications available to us. I found myself hitting a lot of roadblocks, having a lot of headaches and frustration throughout the build process. Now, this was back in early 2025. Now we're at the end of 2025, and technology has, or the LLMs, the language models, have improved drastically, right? We've gotten so many new models available to us, from image models to new language models. And this has also brought um, a rise of new AI tools out there as well. AI code builders, these all-in-one platforms that you type your idea in and you get something, you get a finished app. Now, I don't know how I fully feel about that. I think they all have a place for a specific individual who needs a specific set of requirements. But I do believe that if you're going to build something substantial, if you're going to build something at enterprise level, and I always encourage you guys to strive for that, that you're going to want to have a little bit more control over the tools that you're using. And this is where Builder comes in. So the goal of Builder isn't to replace a Cursor, a Windsurf, or an anti-gravity Claude Code, but think of it as, and I like to bring this analogy up, as like a scope that you can add on to your high-powered rifle, right? So by having done a lot of the upfront work, you have this ability to approach these tools with rich context. And as I use these tools, and as I've used these tools almost every day this year, one of the things that is extremely essential in your workflow is the context that you can provide the software or the tool you're using. There is an element of prompting, prompt engineering, that is key to the success of your application that you're building. But within that prompting engineering, what you'll learn is these tools are getting better and better, to where just natural conversation works really well. And so, what do you need to pair with your natural conversation is, you want to have rich context, right? And you want that to be either existing within your natural conversation or in the form of assets or deliverables, what we'll be working on today, whether that be screenshots, um, user flows, low fidelity screens, mermaid diagrams, all these elements, all these assets, all of these particular contextual pieces really help build, or help the tool build your application. Now, the reason why we want to really focus on context is because it's easy to get going in an application. And I believe, what we'll see is, we're going to see a lot of people who will give up because they don't understand the process to building software, let alone the process to building software with AI. And perhaps these applications will get better in the future, where some Joe Schmo off the street can just say, I want this, and this type of software, build it, and it'll do it. Although I believe we are a long ways away from that, probably 3 to 5 years if I had to take a guess. But in the meantime, you want to understand the process of what it takes to build every step, every element that goes into building software. And you want to be able to guide your tool sequentially to building things in a progressive way, right? You want to build things in order. You want to build things in a way that doesn't that doesn't create complexity for your code builder. And so this is where we stand. So this is builder, and what this does is through our own framework from research, defining, and let's get in here and I'll show you what we got. So our framework, our process is define, build, and deploy. And by taking our users through this process, at the end, they are given a short code, right, that has all of the elements they need for their application to successfully scaffold their product from the start. So you go from sort of these, and in a way, it's a better version of a boilerplate, right? Whereas a boilerplate is pretty standard. A boilerplate is pretty cookie cutter, and albeit they're good, they can get you going for most applications. But sometimes, and I truly believe as we expand on applications and on building these tools, people are going to want a little bit more customization. I also think it's important to kind of explain and present what's available to people as they build. And mind you, this is for builders. This isn't for the hobbyist who just wants to tinker. This is for someone who wants to build something serious. And what we will realize throughout this process is, and I've learned this through my process, as you start to get in the code and as you start to mess around with these tools more, you start to learn about different softwares out there, different providers, different ways to host a backend, different ways to host a front end. And what we achieve with Builder is we allow the builder, I guess, no pun intended, the ability to really dive deep into the nuances of their idea before they start working with their language model. And we do this by taking them through our process here, and that's to define, build, and deploy. And within this, we have the ability for the user to go through deep research, start a new project, and this new project takes the user through our specific flow, right? From researching their product to identifying features, integrations they may or may not want or need, AI models. Perhaps they want to have some AI integration, and then the ability to review. And this is all through our own process here. And as they go through this process, they'll end up here, and we'll just work through this flow. Boom. They will generate, or our application will generate a scaffolding script. And this is what you would take to your Claude Code, to your Gemini, not Gemini, to your Cursor, to your Anti-Gravity, all through. So we take literally what could take 3 or 4 days to 3 minutes. And that's sort of the approach here. And that's the fundamental feature of this application. Now, on top of that, we'll have a lot of other little ancillary items. And the reason why I kind of went a little deep and nerdy on this and added some of these additional things is because this project or this tool was intended to be just for me and my internal team. But as we do this series, as we continue to investigate and not investigate, but as we continue to grow and our community grows, I'm sure eventually I will attract other builders, designer builders like myself, who want a tool that they can leverage to get their ideas out fast. And so that brought up a question that um, a previous commenter mentioned, and I like to resurface this because as an entrepreneur, you will probably face this a lot. You will face a lot of people who may not understand what you're doing or why you're doing it. And a lot of that is just because they don't have the vision you have. And what I've noticed is the question that came up was, well, isn't this saturated? And what I said in return was, who cares, right? And I said that because in my mind, initially this was built for me, but also in my mind I was thinking, well, if it is saturated, that is a good sign to go and pursue something that has a, market demand. And the reality of it is it's not about if it's saturated, because in my opinion, that is the wrong question to answer or to ask. It's the wrong question to ask. But the better question to ask is what I'm building, can it serve the user? Can it solve the user's problem? Can it solve a pain point or a friction point that a user has, even 1 to 2% better than the competitor? Now, there is one competitor that's out there, and it's actually the competitor who inspired this idea. You can go ahead and revisit some of my old live streams to see who that is. And that competitor was why I came up with this idea, because I thought, how cool, how unique could it be to have a tool that could produce me a script that I can copy and paste into my IDE, and it immediately starts to scaffold my project in less than 2 minutes. And within that discovery, which is part of our research here, we'll look at this. And it's important to know that it's okay to get inspired from your competitors, because that is how you will come up with ideas. No idea is new under the sun. And if your idea is new, I would highly recommend you strength test it, demand test it, because you don't want to be in a situation where whatever you're building, whatever you're creating is unique to you, unless it's a personal private tool. But if, again, we're building this for a customer base. And so part of the research journey is identifying competitors out there, searching for their URLs and their website, their approach to UI, um, you know, applying referencing images and describing the experience and the problem they solve, and allowing yourself to develop your own different approach. And so that is essentially what we're going for here. Now, um, the other unique thing I want to highlight is, you might look at this and be like, wow, you're pretty far. And I am pretty far with this application, but the series is going to take a step back, and we're going to work through this a little bit more nuanced to make it a little more tight. And the reason why I'm far is because I didn't just start this on the stream. I actually worked it out through a prior tool. I used Replit, which was one of those all-in-one tools, and it was great to get me here, but I found it limiting in a lot of ways, and I didn't want to spend about 100 credits a day. And previously I had experiences where I built stuff on Replit and randomly it would just crash, which was weird and forced me to spend more money on more credits to build. So this specific tool you're looking at, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of go through a lot of the main user flows, and I've talked about this, what user flows are and how they fit within the product design process. So we're here, we're on the be the user, and we're going to start to flesh out some more user flows. And the reason why we're doing this is because we're going to provide this as additional context to our LLM. So where we left off at was the sign in user flow. And where we are, I'm using Miro, pretty solid tool. Um, so let me see here. So this is our sign in user flow. And what a user flow is, what it does, the goal of a user flow, it does two things. Um, the first is it allows you to identify screens you need to, as well as behavior journey of a specific user or of a user in your application. So you did the journey that you're defining is um, the desired outcome for each specific workflow or task or function or feature, whatever. Right? There's many names to call this. So, for example, in this specific user flow, the goal is for our user to be able to successfully sign in. So from the top, we'll just kind of go over what we created last Friday, and then we'll hop on over and we'll work on another one. So this one shows that our user signs in, they hit the home screen. So if you notice, I have this green. So all these green screens are the screens that we have built already. And this is kind of where working with AI is imperfectly perfect at times. So it managed to get us here. So let me go back and you'll see how this works. So when I kind of one-shotted this, it got me pretty far, right? So we notice we have our sign-in screen, and let me pull that up there. Our home screen actually, and that is this. This is our home screen, so we have that. And then as a user goes to the home screen, they're gonna click sign in, right? So that's sign in. So we have our sign in screen successfully. And then from that sign in screen, they can either sign in, right? And actually, as I look at this, we probably need to have two things here. So let me, right? Because if we work this through, they can sign in, and let me back up here. There's a successful sign in, but then there's also a forgot password experience or flow that we needed to flesh out. And that's what makes it perfect, but not perfect. So when I one-shotted this in Cursor, it got me here. But as you notice, the forgot password doesn't work, right? The sign up doesn't work correctly. And so we need to flesh these out. And by creating these user flows, that's going to help. So if we go back to our flow, sign in, these are buttons. So the user clicks sign in, they go to the sign in screen. From there, we have the forgot password flow, right? But we don't have the sign in flow. So we've accounted for the forgot password. And in our forgot password, there's two paths that our user can go. Either yes or no. If they do forget their password, then they're going to hit a forgot password screen. And so I have the screens that need to be designed in red, and I have the screens that are already designed in green. So as you notice, when I clicked in the builder application, we clicked forgot password, that screen doesn't exist. And that's part of the problem with people who are new to building with AI. AI is going to get you 60 to 70% there, but you're going to miss AI is going to miss a bulk of the nuances that are required in an application. So it's important to know that, and it's important to do this exercise up front because it's going to save you time in the long run, right? Could you imagine releasing this to your users and then they have no access to reset their password simply because it's something it's easily overlooked, especially when you get into the details of your application. You start getting caught up in the features and like for instance, this thing does some cool shit. Like if we go here, right, and I'll just kind of show you, um, we have prompt library, right? So you can come in here, click the prompt library. We have all these prompts. We can generate prompts, right? And that's the problem with a lot of people who build software. They just get so caught up. Now, mine's pretty heavy simply because I was designing this for my own use case. But if I had to start over and I had this with the goal of this only being for designers and design engineers, I wouldn't have all this shit. But because this is a fun pet project and I have a real one that's in production that I'm marketing, we're going to go all out. But I would highly recommend you don't go all out simply because especially if this is your first rodeo. I like to say a couple things here. So I grew up playing basketball. I was a baller. That's what I did. And in basketball, you have this theory called triple threat. And essentially what triple threat position means is you have the ball in it's the ball's like right at your hip, but from that position, you can either drive, shoot, or dribble, right? So you have these three kind of pillar um fundamentals in your arsenal before you attack your defender. And I like to take that analogy and apply it to software. The moment you start bombarding or overloading your tool with feature after feature after feature, you're going to lose customers and you're going to have high churn. So what I like to say is give yourself three, no more than five, but three sound functions, features that solve the problem. So anyway, so we know that this flow, we're going to need a forgot password screen. And then as the user goes through there, if the credentials are submitted and it's a success, then that flow ends. If the credentials are not submitted or they are submitted and it's a failure, no, then it'll go back to the forgot password screen. Now, what does this mean here? Now, you guys have all probably had, forgotten your password and they send a code to your email and you might need them to resend the code because perhaps that email you got lost or you never received it. That's essentially what this part is here, right? So they submit credentials and maybe they added an extra numeric or character in the email and it wasn't successful. So we want to allow that user to go back and resubmit their password. So that's showing here. Now the beauty of this is when you take a screenshot of this and you add this to your AI builder, it's going to grab it right away. It's going to be like, oh, okay, all right, I know what we need here. And you can even set rules, right? When you talk to AI, it doesn't really matter which one you use. They're all really solid. But you can hop into ChatGPT and be like, okay, ChatGPT, the green squares are the screens that I already have built. The red squares are the ones that we need built. So I need to make sure you have, the proper prompt for me, addressing those rules when I put in these user flows. So we'll get into that later. Right now, we're just doing this legwork here. And then the next experience, what we have here is our start build button. So we have that, and let me get out of here and I'll show you what that does. So this is from the home screen. Remember, we're working from the home screen. And the start building button doesn't do anything, right? And that's another issue. Actually, I think it does take you to the dashboard. Right. So there you go. That is an error. We don't want people to just magically get access to our software. So we got to make sure that we have the proper screen there, which is what this addresses. So when they start build, what do we want our user to do? Well, we want our user to create an account screen. And this is an opportunity for you as a software builder. This is where you can add your paywall, right? This is where you can add perhaps some sort of lead capture, some sort of onboarding. I typically like to say with this, you want to keep that to as the least amount of clicks as possible. We don't want the user to kind of drop off here, right? We don't want to ask for their entire life story. Now, this may work if you really want to get in depth. This usually works for mobile applications, and you'll see this a lot. But I like to break the rules a little bit. Sometimes it's best to just get the user in your application, get the least amount of information you need, and then get them using the tool, because people like speed. And I believe as our generations, new generations come, people want speed, right? I like to call it TikTok brain. If you can't get the user signed up and into your application in, 3 to 4 clicks, you're going to lose them. And a lot of people are looky loos. So we want to keep this specific experience or flow as simple as possible. So there's some cool softwares out there that are like, there's like Magic Link, right? So they can click this, put in an email, and then that email can send them a magic link. That magic link gets them access straight to your app. Or you can go the traditional route here, where they create a username, a password, kind of give you a little bit of insight into how they found out about your application. But you can always do that follow-up stuff, those follow-up questions much later, right? But keep this as quick and as limited as possible. Now, some things to keep in mind here. You want to make sure that you have some sort of, I like to say, reCAPTCHA, or an ability to stop bots. And typically the best way to do that is with some sort of authentication that sends a code or sends a link to the email that they signed up with. That way it's not a bot that's just creating an account and then they're just probably either spamming your app or, just throttling your database. So some pro tips here. So that's what we've built so far. We're going to hop into this next flow. And I think, let me see. I made a call out here for the sign-in screen. It was sign in. So we did say from the sign screen, you have the forgot password. Okay, so this is essential. And this could help you even if you're working in a organization as well. There is a flow we missed here, and it's just, and I'm gonna, if you can guess what it is, drop a comment in the chat. But we missed something here, and it's an important one. So let me see if I can do this. Okay, so let's delete this. Hold on. Okay, so we have this flow, right? There's a forgot password, right? If you don't know, I will tell you, it is the sign in success. So if a user signs in successfully, they go straight to the dashboard, and we have to map that out. That's essential, right? Because there is two behaviors here. There's the behavior of forgetting your password, and there's a behavior of not forgetting your password. And so these are decisions, right? These particular black diamonds represent the decision a user has. And what's the decision? Well, the decision is they signed in successfully. So we need to outline that. And this is simple. So we're going to come here and just make us another decision icon, and we'll just call that signed in. Now, when you do these user flows, it's essential that you always want to have them, they need to end, because the whole point is for there to be an outcome, right? And the outcome could be good or bad or whatever, right? But it is essential that you always define the end. So we go here, and this is how you do it. I usually just make the other, like the diamond, a different color here. Doesn't really matter. So like usually the goal is you want consistency. So we want to make sure that we're communicating with the AI. And in an organization, the AI would be your product team, your developer team, or whatever. That this flow ends, so nothing else happens, right? You could get a little more, I guess, nuanced or detailed, like maybe it goes to the home screen, right? But we don't need to. This is specifically the sign-in user flow. So I think that's it. So that's that. We've achieved this. Oh no, we didn't. I'm sorry. So obviously in this flow as well. So right, user creates an account. So let me branch that out. So let's think about this. When they create an account from the create an account screen, and then we have to go here. So what do you think would happen after a user creates an account, right? So let's think about it. We go back. They sign up. It would create an account. We need to call this decision sign up, right? Because remember, they get to the create an account screen, but what is that? That's not a decision. So we have to make sure we communicate the decision that the user must make here. Otherwise, this is a dead end. So when you get to the create an account screen, right? User signs up. Let's take this. Let's put that over there. So in this example, yes is green, no is red. Actually, for consistency, we'll just keep yes is green. Let me know if you can hear this. If the music's too loud, I can change it. All right. So yes, green. I'm gonna just kind of muscle through this real quick. Like I said, I'm a little crazy about stuff being aligned. That's just a designer in me. All right, sign up. So if they signed up successfully from here, then this flow ends as we highlighted. Now this stuff's getting a little too close. So let me. And I'm telling you, if you guys learn this skill, this can get you a job if you want to go work for the man. This skill is very valuable. Understanding how to map out user flows for applications really can go far. And it's good to know if you're into this type of stuff. So now, yes, they sign up. Yes, it's successful, then it ends. Sign up, no. Then what do you guys think this would do? Well, if no, if they don't sign up, it can either take them back to the home screen, right? So this is assuming the user goes through this flow. They go to create an account and they're like, they click the sign up and they're like, oh no, I don't want to sign up. I meant to do something else here. So typically what you could do here is a few things. From the sign up, you can take them back to the sign in screen, which is probably what I would do. Or you can take the user to the home screen and then they would start this flow all over again. So I think what we're going to do, we're going to do a little different here. So let me see. Which is probably a better flow because essentially if they are at all, if they experience that modal, and for those of you guys who don't know what a modal is, if I'm saying some stuff that you're not aware of or you don't understand, just feel free to comment in the chat and I'll clarify. But anyway, what a modal is this thing here. So this little box, this little square, this is what's called a modal. I don't know why it's called a modal, but in design and in development, this is called a modal. And what I'm getting at is if they click forgot, let me see, is it forgot password? No, we're on the sign up. So we don't even have a sign up screen, but like, let's say this is a sign up screen because it would be the same. If they click sign up and it's like, they're like, oh no, I don't want to sign up. I already have an account. More often than not, typically they're going to go to the sign in screen, right? Or if they are here in the sign in screen, they're more often are not going to go to the sign up screen. So because the original action was one of these buttons that got them here. So we don't want to take the user back to the home screen is what I'm getting at. So how do we map that out? So let's move this here since we're going to connect. You'll see why I'm moving this here. Boom. Okay. So this is here. Well, let's think about this. So what do you think happens next? Well, if they click sign up and they don't sign up, well, they're going to go back to the sign in screen. Simple as that. So we can connect this like this. Right there. Boom. So now they go to the sign in screen and then they can sign in. Right? They can either sign, we should change this to action language. Sign in. And there you go. We have finished our sign in user flow. Pretty good. So let's look at this from the top so we can see what we have, what we're working with here. All right, user goes to the home screen, they go to builder.ai or whatever. We have those two call to actions. So let's start with the sign in. So they click sign in, they hit their home screen. They either have two paths, right? Oh, not home screen. This is the sign in screen. This is the home screen. So they sign in, they click that call to action that's on the home screen. That takes them to the sign in screen. And then from that sign in screen, they really have two options, right? The option where they sign in, that's where they enter their credentials, blah, 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 or the forgot password. If they sign in with their credentials, then it ends, right? They've successfully put in their information. They clearly have an account, and now they're on the home dashboard. And we could flesh that out here. You could add another screen here that says home screen in or dashboard in, but we don't need to. This is because this is a specific user flow for signing in. If they forget their password, it's either a yes or no, right? If they forgot their password. Clearly, we're going to run them through the forgot password flow, or keep going through this flow here. They'll hit the forgot password screen. Then they'll submit their credentials. And if they submitted them, then it's going to be a yes. Like, yes, they submitted credentials, it'll end. Or no, they didn't submit credentials, it'll just take them back to the forgot password screen. So essentially, they would just be on the screen here. And then if they forgot password is no, then it just ends. All right. The next part of this flow is the start build CTA. So like click that start build button here. Remember, we have this. So this is really for the new user, right? The new customer. Perhaps they saw some of our marketing. Perhaps they saw an influencer talking about it on Instagram or whatever. So they click start build, create an account screen is what comes next. Remember, we don't have the create account screen built. We only have the sign in screen. And these are going to be that modal that I mentioned. So as you can tell, this is where AI missed the ball here. They gave us the sign in, but they never gave us the sign up, right? When you click that sign up, it just takes you back to the home screen. That's not desired. So they'll go to their create account screen. They either sign up, yes, or no. So remember here, we fleshed this out. When they sign up and they click no, we've determined that they probably selected no because they already have an account. So it'll just take them here to the sign in screen. And if they sign up and they do not have an account, it would be a yes sign up, and then it would end, right? So this behavior of it ending like this is similar to this here, right? All right, that's it. So that is our sign up, sign in flow. But we are not done, folks. We still have a little more to do. So let's think about the next flow we want to map out here. Now, just to kind of save time, what I would recommend is, instead of building from scratch, you could just kind of take this, copy it over, and then we can start to deduce things, remove whatever we need. But let's identify the next flow we want to map out here. So we're going to switch over to our application. And let's kind of go deep and identify our key feature. Now, I know you guys want to see the fun stuff. To me, this is the fun stuff. You want to see the AI do the thing. But I think what I'll probably do is we won't get too wild, and we'll just flesh out a few more of these. Like I said, the main three. So the first one here is the main feature, right? The feature that the feature that we are thinking about is going to be this flow for creating an application, right? Or going through our process. But before we hop into this next user flow, I do want to highlight some things. First, I want to say, if you're new here, welcome. I am Designer Malcolm. On this channel, all things design. This specific live stream is called Studio Sessions, where we will be building software with the Vibecoding, whatever you want to call it. But we're using artificial intelligence to build software, and you can define that in many ways. So if you like this type of content, if you like this type of energy, we typically like to show up here 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday is how we rocking. Show some support, leave a comment, like, share, subscribe, tell your friends what's going on. Also, I just dropped the winter collection. You can get that at Designer Malcolm. We have some pretty fly gear designed by yours truly. I am a fashion designer. That's kind of how I move. But I think design is ubiquitous across all industries, all fields, the process or the fundamentals of design, that is. So if you like it, glad to have you here. And let's hop back into this. So let's think about this. So the next user flow we want to flesh out is the new project. So we want to look at what we have, and the first thing that a user is going to do when they sign up is they're going to want to create a project, right? So for that new project, okay, we're going to be taken here. So let's think about what we got. So part of this is our specific approach to building is research. And then the user will flesh out features, integrations, AI models, and review. So that's kind of what we have here. Now let's think about this for a minute. Remember, we don't need to get too in depth about this, but we're really just this is a high level overview, a high level architecture of this specific behavior. And we just want to make sure we're fleshing that out. All right, so let's hop back on over to the tool here. And we're going to call this the new project, right? Flow. So the beauty of just copying and pasting over is you kind of have some assets already existing. So we don't need to do too much. We just kind of, like I said, deduce what we don't need, delete what we don't need. So this is the new project, right? Boom. So they're no longer on the home screen. But what they are on, can we guess? It's the dashboard, right? So the user is already in. So we're assuming the user is already inside of the software itself. They are on our dashboard. They're not on the new project. They are on the dashboard. They need to get here. So what will happen is, I'm going to call this the dashboard. So dashboard. Boom. Now we don't need to list out every single button here because we're specifically outlining the new project flow. So we don't need to like put every button that exists on in the sideboard navigation. And that's an important thing to remember is with user flows, they're very specific to one flow and you don't want to have to bombard them. So you're defining one flow here, and that one flow is the new project flow. So what we're going to do is we're going to just scoot this over here. All right, and then what is it? New project. So we're assuming that the user goes here, right? Okay. So I'm gonna power through this. So remember, we want to add a decision here. It's important. So the decision is they're going to create a new project. That's the decision. So if they're going to create a new project, they're going to continue through the flow that we're going to continue to map out. So remember, we got to have our yes and no's here. Oh, that's not working. So if they're not creating a new project, obviously, where are they going? Well, they're going to go back to the dashboard, essentially, is what we're saying. Okay. Okay, so next, if they're creating a project, well, they hit yes. Let's get our screens in here. So what screens do you think we need? Drop a comment in the chat. Drop a comment in the chat. All right. So we got to research. Features, right? Features, integrations, AI models. Integrations. AI. Now, the reason why we have all those screens is because I'm looking at each one of these steps as a new screen. All right. So research is its own screen, right? It's got its own set of components. Features is its own screen. It's got its own set of components. See? So this is a pretty fairly simple one. All right. So research. All right. So click yes. Let's take them there. So it's important to know that, and I'm going to ask you this, why wouldn't you just connect this to this screen? Let me ask you guys. I know you guys are smart. Drop the answer in the chat. I'll give you a couple seconds. Why wouldn't I just connect this screen to this screen and be done? Well, it's because you need a decision, right? You don't just go from research to features. Well, what's the decision? The decision is you must continue. That is the decision you're making here. You either continue to go forward or you go back. And that's essential. So we're going to probably have a number of these between each page. We'll just call it continue. And this can get a little nuanced, but like I said, you do the legwork up front, you're chilling. Chilling. When you're working in these design tools, use copy, scale, paste, to make things simple for you. You don't want to spend all your efforts trying to make squares and blocks. So create. No, let's continue. That's what it is. Continue. All right. Now, what did I miss here? What did I miss? Well, with every decision, right, there needs to be an outcome. So we have to make sure that we cover that, right? So always a yes or a no after a decision. So let's start here and we'll just kind of work our way down. Okay, so we got our AI models is the last one, and I think review is the last screen we need here. So what we can do here is just copy these two, hold Alt, bring it down, boom, call this review. And then we have what? Let's see. We got generate. So that's our next decision, right? Review. AI models continue. So this is generate. We'll just put generate in here because we know what this means. Basically what we're doing is we're generating the script for our tool that we want to build. So generate. And then it's pretty straightforward from there, right? So we know, zoom out. You can just take that guy here, boom. Right, so if they generate yes, boom, and yep. If they're not generating, then essentially what are they doing? Well, we can assume that they're probably going back a step. And that's how we will outline this. Boom. What's going on? And I could have connected all these just to move faster, but it's quick. And if they don't continue, where does that take them? Well, it takes them to the previous screen, right? The stuff starts to get easier as you do it a little lot. You start to, everything's pretty much the same. Right, boom. No, we don't want that. Oops. So I'm gonna just speed run through this real quick. I think this is the last one. We should almost be done here. When you get into a flow, it goes pretty quick. But, you know, don't want to rush it. What's the rush? All this upfront work is only going to make your life easier when you start working with these tools. Okay. And look at that. Boom. Just like that, we have our new project user flow. Now let's look at what we just did. It's pretty good. Make sure we're not missing anything. All right. So what are we doing again? Just to recap. Well, we're mapping out our new project. Our new project user flow or user task flow. The task is new project. Let me kind of provide some context, but before we hop into this, I just want to say, if you haven't already, comment, subscribe, follow the channel. Welcome to the Designer Malcolm Studio Session series, where we are using artificial intelligence to create software. Some may call it Vibecoding, whatever, but that's what we're here. That's what this series is about. Glad you can join us. Glad you can make it. If you love this content, no better way to show your support. It's free. Throw a thumbs up, share it and comment, and actually hit the notification bell. We do this Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we usually go until we don't feel like going anymore. So, hour or two. Um, and then finally, if you really vibe with me, you like the content, you like what we're doing over here in this corner of the internet, uh, go check out designermalcolm.com and shop the winter collection. I am a fashion designer background. That's what I do. That's what I love. And so this is my ability or my little pet project to um, show some of my creative endeavors when it comes to that. We got some hoodies, some cups, some mugs, some beanies. It's winter. Warm up, get something for your girl, um, and be on the lookout for some newer collections that are coming soon. Also, on this channel, we don't just do this. We kind of encompass all things design. I have a couple series you might like. I have Design School Dropout. I need to add more to that, but we go over some of the fundamental principles of design. So if that interests you, there we just kind of talk about some of the theory behind design that you can take and practice to help improve your skills. And then we also have a um, a fashion documentary series where we cover some of the icons in fashion. That over there is pretty hot. Love that. So if you're into those type of that type of stuff, feel free. We got a little bit of everything here. But just like I said, I want to welcome you. And before we are about to wrap it up here soon. I just want to recap what we've done in this specific series. We are talking about a tool that we're building for designers to help them work with artificial intelligence called Builder. And we are going through my specific product design process that I built. If you are interested in this, feel free to let me know and I'll be happy to provide access to it. Once again, we do have a Designer Malcolm community coming soon. And there we will have a ton of resources for you to access. And this isn't just for designers. If you're new to the space, if you're new to working with artificial intelligence, if you are new to creating, building, design is a great place to start because design trains your eye. Design helps you build that muscle for taste, right? You don't need to be a designer to have good taste, but what you do need is the ability to see. I think innately we all know what looks good, what feels good, and some of the things that we enjoy. And so that is what we're here to do. So even if you don't take the full process and you become a full-on UX designer or whatnot, take some of these concepts and these fundamentals that I'm kind of teaching you and showing you in practice and apply them to multiple areas in your life, because the reality of it is, in the age of AI, what's going to make you stand out is your own individual creativity and your own ability to really exude taste and to showcase taste and to determine what's tasteful. And you want that to show up, in your work, in your applications. This is for entrepreneurs. This is for people who work in corporate. We're here to grow and we're here to help each other out. So, like I said, welcome. And just to kind of recap, we are working on our user flows for this specific software. We are in the emphasize step of the product design journey or product design process, and we're working on user task flows. The specific task flow that we just finished up is the new projects, and so we're going to walk through that, what we just did here, and I hope you guys are seeing the progress here, and you'll see it come to life. All right, so we have our new project flow. Let's run through it. All right, user hits the dashboard, and that's here, right? This is the dashboard. This will be what they see. They won't end up on new projects, but they'll end up here. Let's get it to load. So this is the dashboard, the main dashboard page when they log in. So they'll end up here, right? From there, the user would hit new project. So this button represents the items we have in our sidebar navigation with the drawer feature, right? So user hits new project. From there, they could decide to either create a new project or not. If they click no, then they would just be taken back to the dashboard, right? Essentially start that loop all over again. And perhaps they didn't want to click new project. They were looking for something else. If they click yes, this is when they begin the new project user flow or user task flow. So from there, we have our research. And a way I've kind of, the key or the legend that I've created for this particular user flow diagram is I have my screens that are already created in green and the ones that need to be created in red. Feel free to use your own methodology or your own legend. I just find this works for me right now. I made it up on the spot, but this just helps me to communicate to the artificial intelligence that hey, we have screens already for research, blah blah blah. Or these screens, the screens we already have are in green. The screens that we need are going to be in red as you analyze this user flow. So just something I wanted to add or preface there. So as a user goes through the research, obviously we're taking them through these steps, the process. So they would fill out this research. And something that I just want to reiterate again is we are considering all of these cards to be screens, right? So this is a screen, research, this is a screen, even though it lives within our sort of workspace. Let me close that. This is a screen, right? So as they make their way, they either continue yes or continue no. In this case, no means they're going back. So if they are going back, and actually I think this is wrong. Let's see. Yeah, because if there is no back. So we need to remove that. That's why we do this. Two things we can approach this here. So from the research screen, we can have back take them to the home page, which would be this, or the dashboard, which would probably make sense. Or we can not, we can just have it end. And so I think what would probably be best is if we, for now, just made them go to the main dashboard screen. That works. This doesn't have to be perfect, but essentially what we're going for here is just trying to define this behavior. And it can be a number of things here. That flow can just end. And as a matter of fact, I like the idea of it going back to the home dashboard. So we'll have to clearly communicate that. Anyway, so as they proceed, if they click yes, continue, yes, that's going to take them to the features page. And that's going to, in return, prompt them to make another decision, whether or not they should continue or not. If no, so look, this is why we do this. They don't go back to the features page. They go back to the page before. So that's good. Good thing we fleshed that out. See, we are, that's why we double check our work, right? So features that continue, yes. Integrations, continue. If they go no, this goes back to this screen, right? Let's kind of give it some space. All right. So they hit integration. They set up their integrations that they want to work with for our tool. Continue yes. They hit the AI model screen. They determine what AI models they want to use. If they hit yes, they're going to continue forward. If they hit no, which is the back button, remember, then that's going to take them back to integrations. If they click yes, it's going to take them to the review. Obviously, if it's a no, they're going to be going back to their AI integrations, right? Because perhaps they forgot an integration. So or their AI models. As they go through the review, they'll hit generate. They're generating that our proprietary scaffolding tool or our script that we're going to have. And then they'll generate. And if it's a yes, then it ends, right? Here they can go. It ends. They copy that, go paste it in their IDE or their tool of choice. Their whole project gets built out, scaffolding that is for them. If they click no, clearly they're going back to their AI models. So look at that. We did it. Pretty good, pretty nifty. This is a great skill to learn. The reason why this is beautiful is because it doesn't require any design skills at all. You don't need design skills to map out your user flows. You just need to understand the design process. Because again, you have AI that's going to do the design for you, but you being the builder, you being the mind behind the idea, you want to understand the architecture of the application, and that's the architecture from a user UX standpoint, not development architecture. That'll be in a different video, and we have AI to leverage and lean on in that. But what's the most important thing about what you build is, in my opinion, the application and the user experience itself. The code will always come later. That's why you can, in my opinion, as a designer, you can launch a prototype that's just clickable screens before you apply any code. It's so valuable. You don't need code to start. You could just, if you know how to map out user flows and you can get a couple boxes and squares that just kind of roughly communicate what your goal is and what you're trying to achieve, that is extremely valuable. One, because it allows you to gauge your customer or your future user base, gauge their interests, gauge how they interact, understand their behavior. It also allows you to produce some sort of feedback with the lowest amount of effort. So understanding these principles, understanding this approach to building tools and software will drastically help the end result of what you're trying to achieve when working with artificial intelligence or working with other people. So it has been a pleasure. I want to say thank you guys for joining me. Can't even talk, for joining the live stream tonight. It's really been a pleasure to work with you, and not work with you, but kind of show you what this process looks like. It's been great to work alongside you. Hopefully you're building something as well, or you're creating something as well. Go get the winter collection. Go check it out. Let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to message me. Follow me on all social medias at Designer Malcolm. Until next time, I will see you guys soon. Peace.